And we are staying in Israel right now with our good friend Jonathan Conricus. Of course, he is a senior fellow at the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. He's a former international spokesman for the Israel Defense Forces. He joins us now. Jonathan, what a day. Always great to see you. And hey, we could talk a bunch, of course, about President Trump's peace plan. He's getting credit, and rightly so. But Jonathan, I want to ask you about the role the Israel Defense Forces played in all of this. Without the brave work of the warriors of the IDF, it seems to me none of this happens.
Yes, Eric, thank you for having me on this happy and joyous day of a holiday. It's double joy because we're celebrating the Jewish festival of Simchat Torah, which is when Jews rejoice in having received the Torah. We celebrate that every year. And very importantly, finally, there are no more live Israeli hostages in Hamas captivity. And that's a strategic game changer. Wherever this goes, you mentioned the Trump plan, whether this goes all the way to peace or whether we go back to fighting, the situation is fundamentally different and in a better way. Now, regarding the IDF, well, imagine Pearl Harbor, but imagine Pearl Harbor with a tremendous amount of civilian casualties that is ultimate mission failure. That's how the IDF started the October 7 war, unprepared and caught off guard. And 2 years after, which is a long, long time for a small country like Israel, finally, I think we can say that we're dusting ourselves off. Now that, thanks to President Trump, hostages have come home, I think we can scan the horizon and say the situation now is profoundly better than what it was before, and that has been obtained through fierce fighting, professionalism, stamina, and I would say a giant amount of belief amongst Israeli soldiers, knowing what they are fighting for, knowing why they need to fight, knowing what they're defending. And 2 years after, we're in a good situation, still a lot of work to do, but in a much better situation than how we started.
Yeah, Jonathan, do you think we see now, or are we on the verge of a new Middle East where, look, Israel is the region's superpower, number one, and number two, countries like Saudi Arabia come in and join the Abraham Accords? Could that be on the doorstep now?
Well, one would hope so. And if it's going to happen, then I think none better than President Trump and his talented team of businessmen turned diplomats to bring that about. And I think that we've seen that what they've been able to do diplomatically is pretty unprecedented. To have adversaries or countries that are hostile towards Israel, like Turkey, Egypt, Jordan, and Qatar, sign on a document that says this enemy of Israel, Hamas, needs to be disarmed and it needs to be relegated basically away from power. That is a big, big achievement. So maybe it will happen. Maybe the fault lines of the Middle East are changing, and maybe this is the what's heralding in a new era. That's fine for people to believe in, and I pray that that is true. On the ground, however, I think vigilance is and should be the order of the day. We still are not beyond phase one in the deal, in the ceasefire deal. We're still waiting for the return of all of the bodies of the murdered Israelis. Hamas today, not surprisingly, instead of returning 28, all of the remaining bodies, they returned only 4 of the Israeli hostages, and that's already a major violation of the first phase. We'll see how Israel responds to that. But however this goes, yes, there's possibility, but there is still so many details and so much work that it needs to be done when we're dealing with an enemy like Hamas. But there's nothing like winning if you want to create alliances and bring about peace.
Jonathan, very well said. 2 things. Number one, Israel, of course, paid a heavy price here, by the way, releasing hundreds of hardened, life-sentenced Palestinian terrorists, number one. And number two, you talked about Gaza, and this is only phase 1. What does Gaza look like going forward? Do we see Gaza perhaps collapse into internal fighting between Hamas and other factions there? In the short term, at least.
Yeah, I mean, Yeah, Gaza is looking very bad. And what we see Hamas doing, like the thugs and terrorists that they are, they're settling scores. They've been spending the last 36 hours basically executing dissidents, executing rival clans, terrorizing people, Palestinians, Arabs, their own people, and doing it in typical jihadi fashion. With brute force, with mass terror. That's what they've been doing in the last 36 hours in Gaza. And the longer it takes for the Trump plan to transition from stage 1 to 2 and 3, the larger the chances, the higher the chances that it won't advance. Because this interim period before going from 1 to 2 to 3 is something that Hamas will use in order to consolidate its power. When you look at what Hamas is doing, they don't look like an organization that is readying itself to transition out of power, like an outgoing administration. That is not what they're doing. And you can see that they're communicating with the locals. They're saying that we're here to stay. And they're also saying openly, they said it on Sky UK 2 days ago, we're not going to hand over our weapons. We're not going to disarm. So this doesn't spell well for the future. And this is, already a test. How will Qatar, Turkey, Egypt, and the US, and of course Israel respond to this? And the sad reality is that, it's a succession of things that one has to happen before the other. So first Hamas is disarmed, then they are relieved or they relinquish control over Gaza, and then will a new government be in place, and then will the rebuilding of Gaza start. Rebuilding of Gaza and alleviation for civilians there will not happen as long as Hamas is in power. So it's a complex situation. After war scenarios are always challenging and messy and bloody, and it's kind of jungle laws that will prevail for a while. And at this time, Israel will have to be very vigilant. And the faster the work's done, the better.
Jonathan, great breakdown. And look, we'll enjoy today, of course, but as you said, much work to be done, and this is still all playing out. No one does it better, folks, than our good friend Jonathan Conricus. Be sure to follow him on X, across social media. Jonathan, thanks so much, my friend. God bless you. We'll see you again soon.
Eric, can I say one more word?
Of course.
I just want to say thank you. I want to say thank you to all of the non-Jewish supporters of Israel. And I want to say that your prayers, your help, your involvement, your donations, but mostly your prayers, your care for Israel throughout these 2 years, they are part of the success story. Eric, you asked me in the beginning about the role of the IDF. We have fought, the IDF has fought, and I think fought well, but I think we would not have been able to succeed had it not been for the help that we have gotten from abroad, from our Jewish brothers and sisters around the world, in the US and elsewhere, but also from our non-Jewish brothers and sisters. And I think this is a great venue for me as an Israeli to say thank you, and that we should all enjoy this sweet moment of victory that we're seeing. Hostages being returned home, and really a marvelous and sweet moment to enjoy. So thank you very much.
Jonathan, thank you so much. It is our honor and pleasure to stand with you and the nation of Israel, my friend, and the Jewish people. Jonathan, we appreciate it. God bless. We'll see you soon.
Thank you. God bless.